Newsroom here at CNN News 18, and what's a buzz right now is the big story coming in and with the visuals from Mumbai, where Salman Khan, after threats from the Bishnoi gang, has called on the new Mumbai top cop Vivek Phansalkar and made a request, not asking for extra security but saying that there is legitimate ground to grant me a weapons license. So Salman wants a personal weapons license for himself after the threats that were issued to him, and confirmation of the threats with multiple investigation threats saying that they were very serious and even ready to fire at Salman Khan's residence to intimidate him to extort money from him. The threat letter was delivered to Salman's father, Salim Saab, at a place where he regularly goes for his morning walk and a bench where he usually prefers to sit. So clearly these people, these attackers, members of the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, had recce'd and scouted Salman's residence and also the mannerisms and the habits of his family members. And that's why Salman Khan going and personally making a case with the new Mumbai top cop, Vivek Phansalkar, and saying, grant me a weapons license so that I can protect myself. Herman now joins us, Shilpa Ratnam also with us with more details. Herman, does this come as a surprise? Because usually the demand is for additional security cover, but here Salman is saying, give me a weapons license.
Well, Anand, yes, in fact, as I was pointing out in the past incidents when we have seen, it is usually an actor or a producer or director who have asked for increased security. But in this particular context, you have Salman Khan himself stating in a formal application before the Mumbai police that he wants to purchase a weapon for his own protection, and therefore the permission needs to be given to him. Now, this is a case that was extremely sensitive when the story did break out initially, because we do know that the Mumbai police at that point in time, as well as the officials from the Punjab police too, had stated that jailed gangster Lawrence Bishnoi had issued indeed the threat letter to Salman Khan and his father Salim Khan. This was not a fake letter. They had also said that this had also to do had a certain connection to the Black Buck case, where the animal is considered to be extremely sacred to the Bishnoi community, which hails from Rajasthan. So therefore, in that particular context, now we are seeing with a new Mumbai CP taking over, correctly it is that Salman Khan has decided to ask to seek permission for a weapon for his own security.
Right. Herman, stay on with us. I've got Abha Singh and Swapnil Kothari. Abha Singh, is it, does it come as a surprise? Is it unconventional for somebody to ask for a weapons license citing threat? Or does this become a little more sensational given Salman Khan and the bakery and Black Buck cases?
Absolutely, because under the Arms Act 1959, you can ask for a gun license if you are facing for self-defense or for sports training, you know. So, but the issue here is you have to see the credentials of the person before giving a license. And I think Salman Khan, who is facing manslaughter, the hit-and-run case is yet not over. He may have been absolved from Bombay High Court, but Maharashtra government has gone in appeal in the Supreme Court, and also the Black Buck case of Rajasthan. So I think a person with those track records should not be given a gun license, although there is a provision in Arms Act, and I think under that only he has come to meet the police commissioner of Mumbai.
Right. And what stands out, as Swapnil Kothari is also with us, Abha Singh, please stay with us. Where do you stand, Swapnil Kothari? Anybody has the right to make an appeal. And does Salman Khan have now verifiable and quantifiable grounds, given the fact that there was a threat letter issued right to his father, and those who now are in custody have in interrogation, that's what news reports suggest, and we've been able to understand here at CNN News 18, have said that they were even willing to fire at his residence to intimidate him. And he was supposed to be the first cog or the first of the many celebrities who they were going to target in a larger extortion plan.
Anand, the Arms Act clearly allows a person to apply for a gun license, whether it's a prohibited bore or a non-prohibited bore. You know, the prohibited bore is for specialized departments, but nevertheless, I believe that he would be much safer with a security other than a gun. But nevertheless, that's his score. And if the government approves of it under the Arms Act, and if you know, the people who are dealing with the application, if they that it is fit, then they can possibly issue it to him, given the fact that he and his father both have faced these kind of threats. So, except that there is one more situation in this, that if he were to apply and if he were to get it, I think a lot of people would come up to the to the departments and say that, look, even I'm facing this threat and that threat, so please issue a gun to me as well. And the gun laws, which are extremely strict in this country, will then tend to get a little diluted, and you don't know you know what is the state with the driving license. I mean, anybody and everybody to get it, and that's the reason why we have so many road accidents. So the last thing is you want is that some crazy person should get it, even in the future. He may concoct a theory and say that, look, I'm under threat. So you don't want that situation to happen. But nevertheless, I think this seems to be a legitimate case for him, regardless of his personal background or his case background. I wouldn't go on that. That is for the law courts to deal with his cases appropriately as the hit and run case or the picnic case or whatever it may be. Those are separate. Those have to be treated separately. I mean, he's not going to do anything with a gun. He's applied for if he wanted to apply for a gun, he would have applied for a gun long time ago. But he didn't do so. I think there is no bearing between his cases. And
you are saying there is no bearing, but Abha Singh, do you agree, disagree? Because in this case, the bearing is because the Bishnois were after him due to the black bug issue.
No, Anand, but the issue is that the procedure is that the DCP licensing has to verify, and the verification procedure very clearly says that the past criminal record, if any, has to be looked into before you sanction a license. So his past record will have to be looked into, and there are innumerable people who face threats, but they are given security. So and he can afford security. It's not that he comes from a poor background that he cannot afford private security. And a lot of HNIs, I would say, they have government security plus private security, but when his proper verification is done, because the Arms Act licensing says that verification background check has to be done, and I'm sure on that ground it will be struck down. He has criminal cases against him.
True, and Swapnil Kothari, Salman Khan is somebody who can afford not just personal private security, he already has it. So does he really need a gun license? And I'm asking the same question again. The fact that the issue was the court judgment in the black bug case, where everybody asked which black bug, who killed the black bug then? Did it pick up the gun and shoot itself? That were the questions that were asked based on the court judgment. It's been challenged now. The other instance also has been charged, and there is a connection here. It is because of that black bug issue that the Bishnoi gang is targeting Salman Khan. Not that they are right in doing so. They are gangsters, they are criminals, they should be cracked down upon. But is that ground enough for him to seek a gun license, or is it now up to the wisdom of the Mumbai Police Commissioner?
Now, precisely, that's the reason why I prefaced it by saying that his security should be sufficient for him. If you remember my first answer. But nevertheless, as I said, yes, absolutely, there is a discretion looking at his criminal background, that he's got some criminal cases behind him, etc. But I think when it comes to threat to life, then I think a person, regardless of his criminal background, I mean, once we know that, what all cases are there against him, he's not, used the gun before from pouring it from somewhere, he's killed a black bug. Yes, possibly, allegedly, once it gets proved, then it's a different issue, but that case is still, not yet complete.
Right.
So it would be inappropriate for the DCP to say that, look, you may have killed the black bug, so you kill a human being tomorrow, so I will not issue it to you. Now, let me tell you something. All these things, these decisions by the state, assuming that they deny him, and give him a reason that this is the reason why we are denying you a gun. He's got all the rights to appeal to a court of law, which he may very well do. He's saying that, and he may very well succeed in a court of law, given that there is a right to life. Because those are separate things, Anand. I'm just telling you, in as much as I would advise him that, look, you've got fantastic security, you can afford it, you can possibly double it, and it be appropriate for you, rather than a gun, because I don't know what sort of succor or help it may have on maybe psychologically. But other than that, it's for him to take a call on that, and if he's taken